That's our nature, is pure beings of love, is sensitive and compassionate and supportive and loving with one another. That's our true nature. But then again, if you get twisted, if religion tells you you're bad, if spirituality tells you you're not good enough, politics, economics, I mean, if you don't have the money the guy on the hill with the big mansion has, you're not good enough. You can't get your kid into the good enough school. And they're raised from here thinking, knowing they're not good enough, all out of this system that's been set up on a good, bad, higher, lower, better than scale. And it's a false paradigm. It's an inserted reality that we have bought into. And then because we are these amazing, powerful beings of spirit, I mean, we're the creators here. So we're the ones that have to we have to create our own prison. So that's the plan. The interdimensional forces are non-physical. They can't, we've had this conversation before. They don't have enough power. They can't pick up a pen. They have to infiltrate. It's the devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other, whispering in the ear, the infiltration, the influence in our thought matrix, and the influence pushing our emotions towards negativity and unhappiness and judgment and self-hatred. That's the program, that's the influence, but then it programs us. I'm the creator, and I think I'm a pile of you-know-what. And so then I create a life that reflects that I think I'm a pile of you-know-what. And then you have 7 billion people on the planet believing that they're worthless piles of poo, and we wonder why we have the reality we have today.
Welcome to a Broaderlands podcast. The opinions expressed on Broaderlands podcast are those of the guest speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of the host or Broaderlands podcast. Cate, welcome back to Broaderlands podcast. What an honor to have you on.
Oh, so good to be back, Boo Boo. I always enjoy our conversations thoroughly.
Yeah, me too. And, I have the perfect title for this episode is You're Not Good Enough. And we're here to talk about how you're not good enough.
That's the whole framing of the mindset of control is when you can take human beings, which are really, we're really not human beings, whatever we think human beings are. Well, we think human beings are lack-filled, less than, creatures that can't be counted on, violent, avaricious, greedy, violent, that need to be controlled, manipulated, and whipped, and to be decent. And it's just like, oh my God, when we're beings of love, we're spirit beings of love and light, but we've been crammed into this physical, limited, grotesque. I hate to say animalistic because that does the animal kingdom too much harm. But that's how we're perceived. And when we start perceiving ourselves that way, well, then, we live up and we live down to our own expectations and our own belief systems. So that's the plan right there. Okay, we're done.
I think it was Cracking the Matrix where you wrote something where you said our old belief systems basically haven't got us anywhere because of one basic errorness. And that errorness is we're the problem. And I remember sitting in the 12-step meetings and I would hear, like, I'm always the problem. Like, I don't have the ability to get myself sober, but if I get loaded again, then it's my fault. And that manifests in every group think in the Western world, it seems like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, religion is all about getting pure enough, good enough, sweet enough, loving enough, generous enough, tithing enough, following the rules enough, praying enough, confessing enough to get into heaven, which is up there, and we're down here. And of course, God is up there. And then the whole spirituality arena is all about, I mean, my God, I spent 35 years trying to get out of my body to get out there to heaven and God and to be my higher enlightened Christ self. And it's just like, the whole thing about Satanism is that everything is upside down and inverted, the inverted pentagram, and white is black and black is white. And to realize that we've been so sold on, good is up there and out of the body and non-physical, and bad is physical and down here, and that we'll do anything and everything to strive to be good because that's our nature, is pure beings of love, is sensitive and compassionate and supportive and loving with one another. That's our true nature. But then again, if you get twisted, if religion tells you you're bad, if spirituality tells you you're not good enough, politics, economics, I mean, if you don't have the money the guy on the hill with the big mansion has, you're not good enough. You can't get your kid into the good enough school. And they're raised from here thinking, knowing they're not good enough, all out of this system that's been set up on a good, bad, higher, lower, better than scale. And it's a false paradigm. It's an inserted reality that we have bought into. And then because we are these amazing, powerful beings of spirit, I mean, we're the creators here. So we're the ones that have to we have to create our own prison. So that's the plan. The interdimensional forces are non-physical. They can't, we've had this conversation before. They don't have enough power. They can't pick up a pen. They have to infiltrate. It's the devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other, whispering in the ear, the infiltration, the influence in our thought matrix, and the influence pushing our emotions towards negativity and unhappiness and judgment and self-hatred. That's the program, that's the influence, but then it programs us. I'm the creator, and I think I'm a pile of what. And so then I create a life that reflects that I think I'm a pile of what. And then you have 7 billion people on the planet believing that they're worthless piles of poo. And we wonder why we have the reality we have today. Because we go insane. Because we literally go insane with that as a reality. That is the cage that we've built for ourselves because we're not that. And deep, deep down inside, we all know that. And how crazy making, I mean, that's why blessed kids, they're these beautiful, bright, unmolested sparks that come in. They know who they are, not consciously. They couldn't tell you in words, but they know who they are. And then they look at the crazy and then have the crazy put on them and shut down and shut down and shut down and stamped. And then, out comes the little drone with the same, I am a piece of crap. I am worthless.
I
and
was
I'm a wind-up toy. Just wind me up and I can start talking.
No, I was talking to Elaine Pagos not too long ago, and I was telling her I was walking the lake by my house and with my 2 dogs, and I seen a father and a child. This little girl must have been at least 3 to 4 years old, and they're facing the lake. So in order to see us, she had to turn around, and we're on the trail walking. And the little girl turned around and she was just at awe, like fully alive, like looking at life in action, just in that purity oneness state. Yeah. But then her father turns around and I could see him looking, and it was clear to me. It was weird how clear it was to me. And I seen him looking through all his filters, whether it's his past life experiences, his conditioning, his trauma, whatever, but he's looking through his filter and being a father, totally different experience, so it reminds me of that biblical quote, to enter the kingdom of heaven, you must be like a little child in that state of allness. But what I love about your book, your new book, Gender, Patriarchy, and Sexual Mind Control is, you start early in your book, you talk about sponges and you show that little baby. And I'd love for you to, walking us into one of your favorite topics is original sin and the God spell. Yeah, original sin. Wow. Yeah, we come in as that, that bright, shining, pure being. It's so hard for people to wrap their heads around when I say we are beings of pure love. And, and then they look in the mirror and they go, oh, but, I have wrinkles, I have zits, I have gray hair, I'm too fat, I'm too tall, I don't have enough money, blah, blah, blah. This isn't diamonds, it's fake things. It's like, and it's just like, oh my God. And then the little kids, they're sponges, they pick up all of that crap.
And, I know I've talked about original sin because it's one of the most, it's the most classic way I can give an example of how what I term the archons, ancient Greeks called these interdimensional intelligences the archons. Native Americans, a lot of Native American cultures call them Wendigo, Wetiko. The Hawaiian kahunas here refer to these beings as the Eepa. The Tibetan Buddhists refer to them as the hungry ghosts. Carl Jung called them the antimimos, the antichrist force on this planet. So they're very real. And, but because they're non-human and non-physical, they're hard to track. But they're not hard to track through their influence. So, to original sin. I don't think in 2,000 years since Christianity came about, I don't think there's been a more insidious, heartbreaking, demoralizing teaching than original sin. That the body is corrupt. You come into the earth is corrupt. Nature is corrupt. You come in and you are birthed into sin automatically, and that's your state of being until you can somehow be obedient enough, follow the rules enough, tithe enough, confess your sins enough to get higher to God. Okay, that's the original sin program. So where did that come from? It came from a guy by the name of St. Augustine, St. Augustine of Hippo, back in like 250 AD. And it turns out he was the son of a pagan dad and a Christian mom. And he was quite a wild child. In his 20s, he was a drunk and a womanizer, and his mother knew he was going to go to hell and just despaired. And but one day he ran across the teachings of a guy by the name of Mani, the prophet of Babylon, who had lived 100 years previous. And Mani founded Manichaeism. So the foundation of Manichaeism is original sin. The body is corrupt. The earth is corrupt. You're born into sin. You have to claw your way to goodness, and et cetera, et cetera. So when Augustine, who, again, his mom is in despair, he's a drunk and a reprobate, when he discovered that teaching, all of a sudden the light bulb went on in his brain, and he was like, oh my God, it's not my fault that I'm such a heartbreak to my mom. It's not my fault I'm a drunk. My body made me do it. My body made me do it. Oh, great. Hate the body. Okay, bad body, bad body. So he sobers up, converts to, because now he's not at fault. It's his body's fault. Now he's got a coat hanger for goodness, and so he converts to Christianity, and then he becomes a founding father of the Christian church, and he preaches original sin, and original sin teaching is put into the original catechism. Is it catechism? Yeah. In Catholicism. And here we have it 2,000 years later. We have 200 generations of men, women, and children who have epigenetically been imprinted, stamped in our genes with self-hatred and shame and self-disgust for being human. Powerful, powerful, potent, degrading teaching. So, the question is where did that come from? Where did Mani, the prophet of Babylon, get that idea in the first place? Well, he got it from a whisper in the night. There was a voice that would talk to him and tell him about this stuff, and tell him about how evil the body and the flesh is, and how corrupt. And he called this presence his other self. He didn't know what to call it, but it was a disembodied, disincarnate entity whispering him and giving him this information. So he creates Manichaeism. 100 years later, Augustine of Hippo comes along, picks it up, runs with it, and puts it in the Catholic Credo, and here we are 2,000 years later. And so that's how these beings influence humanity. Whisper, 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 whisper. They twist the mind, they twist thoughts, they twist emotions. And so the influence of that is incalculable on this planet, and is totally unseen.
So we got all that from an entity attachment, basically.
So we got all that from an entity attachment. Now, Augustine later, Augustine was asked, where did Mani get this information? And he said it was an angel from God. who descended to Earth to give mankind the truth. He didn't know what the hell it was. Monty never said it was an angel. He had no clue. It was just a voice that talked to him.
That's
So,
interesting.
yeah. So that's the kind of influence that we're raised in, so that it's the classic whole thing about, you ask a fish about water and they go, what?
When you open up your book, one of the first sections is you write about Googling the word freedom.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's pretty interesting. Are we really free? We talk about living in a free country, but I can't leave if I wanted to on my own will.
No, well, not without the proper documentation.
And all the mental conditioning and that keeps me enslaved in
Yeah.
many ways, especially when I was and I love the 12-step community. I'm not knocking it down, but there's always this belief that something's wrong with you. I feel like there's these hidden elites, even like with the Rockefeller family, for an example.
Oh, I'd say especially, not just go ahead.
No, I mean, they had their hands in the 12-step community before it even launched, and I kind of believe they created some kind of recovery matrix where, look at all the money that's being made year after year in the recovery world. And, these dark forces know how to keep us in trauma. And I know you bring up trauma and, fear. We're constantly being fed fear. You turn on the news and it's always some kind of fear-based hatred and some lower vibration that's being put out to us. And if I'm not aware of that stuff, that'll put me into a trance and I'll be easily controlled like a robot.
Absolutely.
And then, and they know how to push the buttons to turn right or left because all they got to use is the belief systems on me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The amount of programming, one of the things that stuns me as I go along on this trail of uncovering what's really going on is the level of technology we have actually is so sophisticated. People are talking about, with the vaccines delivering nanotechnology into the bloodstream, which hooks up to 5G and 6G and whatever else they're pulsing. And it's true. The technology is so advanced. We haven't got a clue.
Wow.
I mean, when AI was launched basically 4 years ago, I didn't really see it as a strong presence until 2 years ago. This coming December, 2 years, and AI is just like taking. I mean, 60% of young people now have intimate relationships with AI companions. 60% of young people are hooked, thinking a relationship with an AI algorithm is going to complete them and be satisfying, and they're satisfied with it. It's the best
Wow.
relationship they ever had. And that happened in 2 years? No. This technology has been developed a long time back, and they're just releasing it piecemeal. Sorry, I mean, there's so many rabbit holes. It's a wonder we can even walk down the road with 5 feet without falling in one.
Yeah, it's
Well, you're right
crazy.
about you're right about the freedom thing, Boo Boo. I mean, I think it was Goethe, the German writer, who said the greatest slave is the slave that doesn't know he's a slave. So the Chinese recently rejected digital currency. Hands down, the Chinese people just refused to use it. They just went, and that was that. And so a friend of mine, I was at the beach with a friend yesterday, and she said, do you think the America is going to do the same thing the Chinese did? And I was like, I don't think so, because the Chinese know they're not free. They know they're subservient in a communistic regime. They know their situation. Most Americans haven't got a clue that they're slaves in a system. They think they're free.
Has been revealed to you since you wrote Cracking the Matrix and your latest book?
Oh God. The latest book is Sexual Mind Control, Gender, Patriarchy, and Sexual Mind Control, and breaking free of that. The revelations are ongoing, Boo Boo. Some are stronger than others. I think the level of duplicity is really hard for a decent human being to ever wrap their mind around.
Hmm.
So more than anything, as I see more and more of what's really happened, how the programming has been implemented, how the global elite have set up the political systems, and then of course the that whole COVID thing. I swear that's biting them in the ass big time, because if there's anything that has stirred the pot and made people go, oh, because COVID was what
Yeah.
woke me up. Literally overnight, I came out of my spirituality positivity bubble and went, what the heck is really going on? The world's going crazy. And at that point I had the choice. I could access bliss. Fine. I've been meditating for 40 years. That's great. I can bypass all of this stuff with no problem. But then the question, when I saw the world going crazy and the lockdowns and the oh my God, the insanity of it all, I was like, is bypassing this and staying on my bliss pillow helping me, the world? Is it a contribution, or is it just something that I have been trained to do so that I don't get involved and I don't invoke my own power as a spiritual being
Mhm.
on this planet? So, well, you know the answer to that.
With all your research, as you continue to research and look into things and question, what have you came up with? I know you talk about the anti-life force.
Yeah.
Sometimes you hear the hidden hand, these interdimensional forces. Who's controlling our governments?
Oh, hands down. I can't name names because I don't think we know the names.
Mm.
There we go. But the Donald Trumps and the Bernie Sanders and the Elizabeth Warrens and of the world, they're puppets. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter who's sitting in there, feeling like the king of the world. They're not. They're totally controlled by people like, I'd say the next level up is the entities like the Bill Gates and the George Soroses of the world. Um, what, what didn't Biden or his robot or his clone or his wife or whoever was running the White House during the Biden years? I mean, he actually awarded George Soros the highest medal of merit possible in the United States
That's crazy.
for for twisting the youth and funding the WEF and the
Yeah.
open society foundations that is totally dedicated to subverting freedom and humanity and genders and families. It's about destroying the families. When you destroy the family unit, which brings us back to sex, actually. When you destroy the family unit, then there's really nothing left to live for, in a
And
way.
you mentioned something in your book where one of the many traps and one of the main traps is to utilize gender and sex to
Yeah.
keep us in bondage.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, um, so our society is so, I don't think there's anybody in the world that would argue with the fact that we live in a very masculinized society. We refer to it as the patriarchy.
Yeah.
But what does that really mean? It means that men are in control. Well, what does that really mean? Well, it means that we have elevated the human qualities of aggression, linear thinking, intellectualism, force, if you will. We have elevated power over the more feminine yin qualities. The Chinese, you're familiar with the yin yang symbol, of course.
Yeah.
And so which is about balance. Now, the Chinese system forever has talked about yin and yang, positive, or yin and yang, negative and positive, feminine and masculine as energetic qualities.
Mm.
Okay. And they're in total harmony and imbalance, and you can't have one without the other. So that's why the yin yang symbol it's a symbol of balance. Complementary, what appears to be opposites, but they're complementary, so they're complements. But in the West, we've twisted that into conflict. They're not complementary, they're opposing. And so the gig early on in the Archon's agenda was to pit men and women against one another. It's about divide and conquer. So where can we start the biggest division? We can start the biggest division in two sectors, rich and poor. That's great. Okay, we can introduce an economic system that if you're aggressive, if you're treacherous, if you beat down the other guy, if you have more soldiers and more swords and more horses, you're going to have more money over here, so you're going to be more rich and powerful. So we have the haves and the have-nots. That's the first division. Well, then we've got the religious division, which is God is above and we're pieces of poo. But so that's the overarching. So divide and conquer, divide and conquer. What's the next thing we need to split apart? Men and women. Okay. How do we do that? We elevate the qualities of one sex over the other. On this planet, it has been the elevation of the yang, of the masculine. So yang qualities in Chinese philosophy is white. It's the light of day. So it's about intellectualism. It's the sun. So it's the sun worship, if you will. Sun, SON, SUN. So yang qualities are active, emanating, hard, unyielding, rigid, structure, intellect and logic, containment it can be also very abstract. Hot, dry, linear, singular. It's about expansion. It's rising energy. It's convex, outward, pointed. Those are yang qualities. Now, balancing those are the yin qualities. Yang is the sun, yin is the moon. White, black, day, night. The yin is the feminine, is concave, is inward, is hollow, is receiving. Is fluid, not structured. It's graceful. It's not penetrating. It's receptive. It's passive. It's nourishing. It's intuitive, not intellectual. It's empathic. It's about feelings and emotions rather than intellect. Softness, gentleness, supportiveness, multidimensionality, multitasking. Those are the yin qualities. So what we've done is we've completely elevated the yang qualities over the yin. And so that ended up being the subjugation of women. Women, all of a sudden, they weren't guys, so they weren't worth anything. They were worth making babies, to have male heirs, to pass on the horses and the swords and the castle on the hill to. So now we've got women are subject to men. Men are more powerful. The women now have to subvert. And then, the thing that people criticize women for is that we're manipulative. We're not obvious. We'll get in there and we'll undermine from the, Well, of course, if you're totally powerless, if you're locked in a tower chamber, if you're locked in a chastity belt, or if you're just, the pawn of whoever wants to rape you and have babies on you, it's like, yeah, you're going to subvert. You're going to take the manipulative dark route, feminine manipulation. But the thing of it is that every creation in quote unquote physicality, which isn't really physical, E equals MC squared, mass and energy equivalent, but okay. So we have these energetic qualities, and everything alive has masculine and feminine in it, yin and yang. A mountain, for example. Okay, so Mount Hood, or it's very pointed, very yang. Hello, very much the external driven, linear, penis oriented kind of mountain. And then you have the Appalachians, which are soft, and but even the pointed mountain has soft folds and ravines and crevasses that are feminine and that are yin. And over time, even though the most pointed volcano is going to wear down and become more yin, and in its energetic expression, you look at a rose bush, soft, beautiful, gentle petals and thorns. Yin and yang. Everything is a willow tree, is very, very yin, but it becomes more yang and gets more rigid as it gets older. So everything in creation has yin and yang in it. Those are the energetic qualities of life itself. But if you elevate one of those, ask one side of that in over the other, then you have imbalance, which is what we have today. Grotesque imbalance. My wake up call came in 1999, and I was actually I was doing an interview with a shaman from Brazil, a Pupiara from the Squaw tribe, and he was telling me about how his tribal dynamics worked. And he said, you're gonna think from your Western perspective that this is very patriarchal and very, very old fashioned. He said, but the guys do guy things. They hunt, they fish, they cut down the trees and build the huts and the canoes, and the women do the wild food gathering and take care of the babies and do women things. And he said, but both sexes are equally represented on tribal council. One isn't considered better than the other. And he said, and in fact, there's one job that in the tribe that only the women can do, which is the most important job of the tribe, and guarantees our survival. And I was like, oh yeah, women can have babies. And he laughed and he said, well, he said, that's of course very important, but that's not what I'm talking about. He said, in my tribe, we understand the different aspects of masculine and feminine. They express differently through masculine bodies and feminine bodies. They just do. He said, we know that he said, we don't have an off switch. We'll cut down trees until there's nothing left standing. We'll fish until there's nothing left in the rivers. We just have we go, we're active. We're the active principle in life. We go. The women, on the other hand, are in balance and intuitively reading the balance of nature, the balance of the tribe, the harmony within the family. What's needed to keep harmony and balance within the family, the tribe, and the larger family of the tribe in balance with nature around the tribe. He said, so the most important job of the entire tribe is the women tell the men when to stop. The men wait for the women. So the women tell them, enough. We have enough wood. Thanks. We got enough fish. Thanks. Chill out, dudes. and when he said that at Pupiara, when he said that, okay, that was 26 years ago. It was just like, talk about the bitch slap from whatever. It was like he just reached through the phone and hit me. I was like, oh my God, in that moment, boo-boo, I saw that I had been trained to be a guy. In my society, I had been raised to be a man. Everything that I held dear was masculine. Money, aggression, power, influence, control, structure. And I realized in that moment I didn't have a clue what being a woman was. Wow. I didn't know. I thought it meant, sleeping with I thought it was sexual liberation. Spreading my legs and sleeping with any guy who I fancied. That was freedom. If we understand, if the level of duplicity, the level of manipulation is so insidious, boo-boo, as far as the sexuality and the genders are concerned. The ancients knew the whole thing about sexual purity. It wasn't that you had to be a virgin, but the old time, they knew that a woman receiving a man into her body and receiving his sperm is receiving his energetic imprint, is receiving the voices of his ancestors, is receiving the influences that he's been underneath. Their energies intermingle, but the woman takes the man in literally, and she starts to embody his history, his thoughts, his emotions, his fears, his torments. And the more women who take more men inside become it was called in India, I think it's Ramunda Bunda, something like that. It was an understanding in the ancient texts that a woman who had too many sexual partners could go insane because of the energetic influence. She would lose herself. She would no longer know who she was.
Wow.
And that's just consciousness. That's consciousness and energy and just how frickin' life works. Now, if you can separate men and women, if you can make women subject to men, if you can elevate the yang qualities of aggression, linearity, intellectualism, conquering, and debase the feminine completely, and then give her the thought that her freedom and her equality is equality as being like a guy, Not equality of the sexes, not yin and yang, equal, complementary partners dancing in life as whole human beings. Men have yin in them, women have yang in them. Some women are, I was a tomboy, I have a lot of yang characteristics, but I'm a woman. I'm wired for guys. I love men. But we've twisted this whole energetic understanding about male and female qualities and made it a binary system that has to be torn apart. It's such crap because we're already fluid. We're already fluid. The kids are on it. They're throwing out the binary system and patriarchy and going, this sucks. This doesn't make sense. They're against it. They are bang on. And they've been twisted because they don't know we're already energetically fluid and have every infinite possibilities and potentials of expression, just as we are. I can sleep with men and women, not sleep with anybody. I can express my own yin and my own yang. You can do the same. It's an infinite smorgasbord of unlimited expression available to us already. But what we've been convinced is if I can put a label on it, well, we have 83 genders now. 83 genders. Really?
Wow.
If I'm an archaeologist and I'm uncovering a tomb and what's the sex of the mummy here? Is it male or female? Is it one of 83 on a spectrum? That's not going to show up. So we've been twisted to think that if I can put a label, we're so desperate for unique and individual expression. We so hunger to be able to express our true being. And if God bless it, labeling myself as a non-binary, monastic, half monogamous, but half wild woman, bilateral, bisexual, whatever. If I think that can help me express who I really am, I'm going to latch onto that label for all it's worth. But all we've done is compartmentalize and compartmentalize and compartmentalize and put us into smaller and smaller boxes with labels on it, thinking we're getting someplace. It's really, really sad. And that's this labeling and compartmentalizing is very, very young. It's a highly young expression. It's a highly masculine expression.
I love your analogy. And you also got me thinking, and I brought this up before, the Egyptian Ankh. When the Romans got a hold of Christianity and created Christianity in many ways, they took out the feminine aspect of it, the oval piece, and they made it into just, they left it all masculine, right?
Yep.
So that makes that, wow.
Yeah, but you see, but men didn't do this. You guys didn't do this to us. You've been done to yourself. You've been locked. Men have been locked in a box of aggression, endless work, domination and control, linear thinking, no off button. Put a sword in your hand and go fight that sucker over there because for God and country. Men have been equally twisted and made into pawns as women. And so, the battle of the sexes, which, nobody even thinks twice when you say, well, it's the battle of the sexes. And everybody goes, yawn. Well, of course, men and women have been fighting forever, as well they should. And it's just like, no, they shouldn't. It's not normal. Aside from, I think maybe a couple of spiders out there, or maybe it's the praying mantis where the female eats the male after copulation. Aside from that, I don't think there is a species out there where the sexes war against one another. It's unnatural. It's infiltration. It's like original sin. Don't you know? Those women, they're manipulative bitches. You're really more, you knock her around enough, you can get her under control. Yeah. Whisper, whisper, whisper. You do that for thousands of years and you've got the patriarchal society, but men did not create it. Yes, we were pawns. Yes, men did create it in that they bought the program that was being whispered in their ear. The High Father, the Father in heaven, over all. Masculine. Programming. And then we buy it, and then we sell it, and then we live by it. And then we think it's normal. But it's been an infiltration. It's been programming for 10,000 years or more. And the guys are every bit as much the victims as women.
You're right. And I appreciate that. I love how you mentioned in your book, biology really isn't biology. It's energy. And if we don't talk about biology and sex as energy, we're basically still being manipulated.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Back to E equals MC squared I know this looks physical, and if you hit me with a hammer, it'll kill me and hurt me. But it's like, but at the same time, we live in this reality that is the whole point is to have this apparently physical expression and journey. And there's it's all of it's God. I know that the endless influence of the possibilities of being whole. The wholeness is such a spiritual, to understand, to be whole, but we don't really realize how we've been like Paul Bunyan's ox, like limping along the side of the mountain, with where the yin has totally been dismissed. Back to that 1999 conversation with the Pupiara is like when I saw that my sexual liberation had been about controlling me and making me into into a man, and that I had no idea what even feminine was. It was really funny because when I dove down that rabbit hole, I remember I was out walking my dogs one day, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Because if anybody had said, Cate, you need to be more passive and receptive, I would have just probably clobbered them, like passivity, receptivity, it's just like, no, I want to be aggressive and active and no. But then I thought about it, and it's just like, all the meditation I was doing and all the spiritual practices I was doing was attempting to get me to be passively receptive and open to receive more information from the universe rather than, and it was just like, and in that moment, I realized that, oh my God, I think I need to reframe and rethink what I think feminine qualities are, like passivity. Is like passivity bad? And I was like, no, passivity allows me to actually be receptive, which actually allows me to receive more information. So the masculinization, the yanging of the yin has gone into, how we define a woman. Vulnerability has been a dirty word. But vulnerability is the greatest, most courageous strength on this planet in men and women.
How do we bring back our wholeness, understanding these masculine and feminine principles within ourselves? Because we carry both energies, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's the 64,000 million gazillion dollar question, Bobo.
Yeah.
And my own passage has been realizing that, God, everything is so twisted. But to finally realize that, the body is my safe place, that my body is God, that my body is spirit, and that it's not safe for me to be disembodied and out of my body in bliss land, not connected to the earth, ineffectual. Well, who wants me to be ineffectual and out of my body and bypass and just be in bliss while the world goes to shit? So to realize that Earth is not bad, Earth is unbelievably magical and potent. My body is unbelievably, there is no more intelligent creation in the universes than these human bodies of ours. And, and the body doesn't lie. The mind can pull you all over God's green earth and back again and down, and you can lose your mind. You can go crazy in your mind. But the body doesn't lie. The body tells you, I don't think you should do that. Don't eat that. Don't take that jab. I don't think it's safe to get in the car with that guy. Ooh, yeah, go for that job. Yeah, go for it. The body, it is so intelligent. It's spirit. It's life. So the more we get in alignment, and the more the more I'm dropping into my body. I mean, I don't meditate anymore. I go sit on the grass. I walk barefoot as much as I can. I spend as much time as possible without my phone, outside in nature, and just receiving sunshine, whatever information. The more I'm in my body, the more settled I am, the more capacity I have to be able to respond to life and what's showing up. The whole thing, we are living in the most dangerous times this planet has ever seen. And how do we know what to do in these times? The only thing that can guide us through these times is the voice within, the still small voice within, the body knowing, the gut knowledge, the heart. Those are our instinct, intuition. We know if we're quiet enough, receptive enough, if we're quiet enough, if we're passive and vulnerable and receptive enough. Why don't they want us to be passive and vulnerable and open and receptive? So you don't get inner guidance. So you look to them outside and follow the agenda and take the jab and take the whatever ID that's responsible and the barcode across your forehead, whatever the heck it's going to be. Listen out here. Don't trust yourself. We know better. Don't trust yourself. So the journey back to trusting self is the journey, boo-boo. And it's not about following teachers and gurus. It's about following yourself. And that is the hardest goddamn thing to do because we have been trained that I am the last person I can trust. Yeah, God is going to help you stop drinking, but you can't do it yourself because you're a powerless piece of poo. Program. So so it's this unveiling, this constant taking away, stripping away of the veils of the beliefs that we've been taught and seeing how we've been separated from ourselves. We've been separate from one another. Divide men and women, back to divide and conquer. God up here, man piece of poo down here. King on the hill, the guy who's got nothing. Divide and conquer men and women. Now let's split the family. Now let's, medicalization, take us out of our bodies. I mean, oh God, who was it? I can't, yeah. I mean, it was understood 100 years ago that a lot of the vaccines and stuff were literally designed to separate the spirit from the body so that we can no longer connect to the inner voice of God within us. So the undoing of that is the journey. And I do it by spending as much time offline, off my phone, and on the earth as I possibly can, following my own inner prompts, no matter where they take me, and learning to trust it. And it's a process. It is not an overnight thing. More support with people, developing community. Again, the patriarchal, I'm the standalone John Wayne unit. I can do everything because I'm a man and I should be a mountain of a man and I should be alone and do it myself. Break the bonds of community. Stand 6 feet apart. Social distancing. It's all about separation. So I've been developing a community of friends here on Maui and on the mainland. I have, I have friendships with people like yourself, network of community of like-minded people to support one another through these times because we need one another.
You're right. It's funny because every time I hear Trump saying something out of his mouth, he's like the savior. Only I could do this. I can fix this. I'll make America great. and it's, what do you think the purpose is right now? Is to continue to create division and control what's going on in our country right now? Because there's a lot of hate. There's a lot of anger. And it seems like a lot of people in the spiritual community just kind of, they're act like nothing's happening or they're caught up in the division. Yeah. But I'm more about, humanity as a whole. I really care about people as a whole. Yeah. And our shared humanity. It's hard to look at and not say something. and it's hard to look at and not feel what's really going on. It just amazes me how some of these people that call themselves shaman and mystics, and they're all caught up in it. And next, you know, they're wearing a mega hat or whatever, you know, whatever side they're caught up in it. But I think both sides are controlled by the same elites, and it really comes down to us against these elites. It's really us and how we're going to treat each other and love each other. You know, love thy
Yeah.
neighbor as thyself, but how can you do that if you don't love yourself?
Bingo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bingo. Bottom line, boo boo. You got it. You got it in one. And you know, and it's not about being against. Yeah, it's so easy. Again, this is what this infiltration, what these beings want. They want to egg us into a conflict so they can feed on us energetically. It's all about divide, conflict, conflict, conflict. These are parasites.
Yeah.
Their nature is to feed. They have no organic life force or source themselves. They actually don't even come from what we consider source, God, love, whatever this multiverse is from, that we're from, organic life beings. They don't have life the way we do. They feed on it. They require it for their own replication. So, so to fight is to lose.
Because you're still playing
But
the
to
game,
roll
right?
over and go, I give up, is to lose as well. Again, united we stand, divided we fall. Not against, but for one another. And again, this is all so hard because we've been trained to be aggressive and violent and in conflict, and I need to be right. My persona, my limited intellectual identity has to be propped up in its little box and protected, which is going to make me fight against the next person who doesn't believe as I believe. It's all feed, 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 feed. Oh boy, delicious, feed, feed. So, you know, and to be afraid of these entities is another hook because, you know, Christianity is, you know, built the devil. Well, who wouldn't be afraid of the devil and demons the way they're portrayed or the way Hollywood portrays it? But remember, these entities don't have the power to pick up a frickin' pen.
Yeah.
It's all about influence. It's just influence or just influence. It's very potent. So to know ourselves and to know our own purity, when you know, we all do shitty things. I mean, and we've all done stuff that we're ashamed of that we hope nobody ever finds out about. I mean, you know, whether it's when you were 6 years old and you kicked the dog down the stairs, whatever it is, we've got shame and that in us, which is a very low vibe frequency, which is where they want us, is a low vibe frequency. So we can keep lowering our beautiful pure light into shame, remorse, guilt, violence to feed. Okay. But the truth is that we are these pure beings, and to get in touch with one's purity almost seems impossible. But again, all you have to do is look in the eyes of that child. All you have to do is look in the brilliance of that baby's eyes, and there you are. Before all this stuff was done to you. And when I realized, Boo Boo, that it wasn't me. It wasn't me trying to beat the other person out to la la la. It wasn't me having too much sex with stupid men. It wasn't really, I was programmed to do those things. But me, the spirit light that I am, is untouchable. And I'm still here. I haven't gone anywhere. Overlays, sure, that I take on and I believe in. But once I start seeing the program, what was done to me, what was done to you, what was done to everybody listening to this, it wasn't you. It's not you. All of a sudden I could drop the guilt, Boo Boo. It's not that I haven't been complicit. It's not that I haven't gone along with the programs. Of course I have. But I didn't know. I was tricked. We've all been tricked. And the minute I really got that, that was when I could take the mantle of shame off of myself. The mantle of shame that made me drink too much for 50 years. So I didn't have to feel what I was feeling. So I didn't have to acknowledge the pain inside. So I didn't have to feel the guilt of my original sin. And then I find it's all bullshit. And it's like, oh my God, I really am sinless. Okay. I didn't do that. It wasn't me. I was tricked. Whoa. Now, I'm not saying I don't do stupid things, and I'm not saying I haven't hurt people, and as I've uncovered who I really am, I still, yeah, I still do stupid shit, but I'm no longer guilty and filled with shame about my being a human being. I know the radiant purity of what I am and what we all are. And it's like, okay, I'm focused on that. I'm focused on that. And I sit my butt on the earth, and I know Mama Earth is in a line. I mean, this earth is so intelligent, and she's shrugging off these parasites. She's had enough. So to align myself with earth, with others, and within my own heart and my own purity, and know it and feel for it every day, feel for it every day, tap into it every day. The body doesn't lie. Forget this stuff.
I love that. And I know you share about when you were a Catholic early on and going to Catholic school, and you said one of your verses that you remember was, "My people were destroyed from lack of knowledge." You also talk about spiritual knowledge has been hidden from us. So I appreciate all the work you've done and your books and your writings and your insight and your research because
Thanks.
it's helped me out a lot.
Thanks. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. We are so beautiful. Humans are beautiful beyond belief. I just wrote about this the other day. I ran across a YouTube video of Mickey Willis, the filmmaker who did Plandemic.
Mm.
And he was talking about how he was in New York City on 9/11. And after the second tower came down, he joined the rescuers, the volunteer rescuers. And so he was on site, and about 72 hours in, everybody was exhausted. And there were a couple of thousand volunteers, men and women off the street who were helping the rescue efforts. And he said, all of a sudden, all these loudspeakers started blaring, and everybody who was not emergency personnel who didn't have respirator gear were told to evacuate the site. That the atmosphere was lethal, and that they stood a good chance of dying if they continued in their rescue efforts. And he said in that moment, he said the people around him, he stopped, and the people around him stopped, and they looked at one another, and as one, every man and woman went back to work looking
Yeah.
for survivors in the rubble, risking their lives on the fading hope that they might find another soul.
Yeah.
And he said that's when he had a spiritual awakening, that was the moment he saw humanity for what we really are. And he told himself in that moment, never forget this. This is who we really are. When the veils drop, and when something so big happens that our little personas are just obliterated, and we come to the core of who we really are, this is who we really are. We are love, we are compassion, and we will lay down our physical lives for others. That's who we really are.
I love that. That's beyond the labels, the identities, the discrimination, the racism, the hate, the false, all this false stuff that's been fed to us. You've seen it for what we really are.
Yeah.
It's funny you share that because I was going to ask you how to define purity. How to define purity in our, in regards of our humanity, our basic goodness, and you just described it right now.
Yeah, I did. And take a look at what purity really is like if you have a bowl of milk and you put one drop of something else in it, it's no longer pure milk. This is what this infiltration does. It drops, drop by drop, ideas about not who you are. I'm this, drop by drop, infiltrating, poisoning the well of who I think I am, so that my purity becomes molested.
Mm.
And it's an outside thing. I remain pure in my heart and in my essence and in my spirit, untouchable. But my physical human expression with an identity, with a persona, ego, it can be it can be manipulated into something else altogether, such that I lose that essential purity.
And that's what these dark forces or whatever you want to call them, do is they keep us in trauma and a lower vibration and fear, hate, anger. So we got to be careful and kind of take responsibility for our lives. Not Jesus take the wheel, but us take the wheel ourselves. And really like look at that stuff on a daily basis. I always say, you know, you hear about the life review. These near-death experiencers experience this life review. And I call it spirituality. I mean, that's what I learned through the 12 steps is to actually, when I wake up upon awakening, thinking about my day ahead, pause if I need to, and have a night review, you know, just really just reviewing my actions and not being disgusted by my humanity, but embrace it. And where can I grow and what can I learn from? And do I owe someone an apology or all that kind of stuff? And it really helps me become a better person. It's not about needing to have a near-death experience or have some form of awakening. It's really just taking responsibility for my daily life. And with that, yeah, it's been a beautiful ride.
And it's not even making you a better person. It's actually helping you become who you already are.
Yeah. Remembrance, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How can you become what you already are, boo-boo?
Yeah, you're right. It's for reminding me who I really am.
Yeah. Which is I mean, I always love my conversations with you because you are truly one of the most heart-oriented men I have ever had the honor of meeting. And I so enjoy our conversations because your sincerity is so clear.
I appreciate it. You're trying to make me cry. But thank you.
I'm crying over it. Come on, vulnerability, remember.
No, I was a trash compactor for so long. You know, Men Don't Cry. That stuff affected me in so many different ways. I remember watching a Tupac movie in Ohio in the movie theater, and I was crying for 3.5 hours. Wow. And it was that pain body Eckhart Tolle talks about, and it was just so stored in me. Yeah. But after 3.5 hours, I was like, "What the hell is going on with me?" I wasn't sobbing; it was just coming out. But it was tears of healing. Not just for me, but for my friends around me that I grew up with. All the pain and the gang banging and the real, you know, it was real. And we experienced a lot of murder and death and blood splattered in front of me. Someone's brains got taken, and I didn't know how to deal with that stuff, so I numbed myself. I was drowning myself in alcohol. Yeah. And then with that, I developed some kind of entity attachments, you know, and I have a story about that in my awakening. But yeah, it's crazy, but yeah, and that way, an awakening is really just waking up who we really are, you know, and I don't have to be ashamed of myself anymore. I don't have to live in guilt, you know, I don't have to get stuck in labels, and, you know, I could just appreciate the good stuff and the bad stuff that I experience. I'm the experiencer, not the experience itself. So, yeah.
There you go.
I appreciate you. Thanks for coming on.
Totally, boo-boo. My pleasure.
I'm going to end it with something you wrote. And it says, the unspoken need of humanity is give me a label so I can identify myself in a way that makes sense to me. Yeah. Then maybe I'll be happy and feel sane in this insane world. But labels will never make us happy, nor will they ever set us free. I appreciate your work. I appreciate all your writings. If you haven't heard of Cate Montana, check out her books. Check her out on Substack because she writes some amazing articles constantly. So I appreciate it.
That's the letter C letter C Montana MONTANA .substack.com.
Thank you, and I'll definitely put your links in when I upload this video. So I appreciate it.
Thanks, Boo Boo.
Thank you, and
good conversation as usual. Good conversation. I mean, it's like I just because if you don't get into the heart, then you're missing the whole purpose of everything.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thanks, my friend.
Until we talk again, I appreciate it. Namastizzle.
Namastizzle. Aloha.
Just know we out here. Know we out here working in a major way. Had to speak on it just to make a break. Any given subject, know we make a way. Time to level up on a day-to-day. Know we out here working for the greater good. Expand your mind, broaden your lens the way you should. From the stars to the galaxy to speak on spirituality. Higher understanding for the neighborhood.